What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. Today, I want to talk about how African Americans need to start taking an example from immigrants. Okay, African Americans need to start taking examples from immigrants. Okay, and now here's the thing: as a group of people, we need to learn to level up. Right? We have to level up. Find out how can we do things better tomorrow, than we did today. How do we become more efficient? How do we become more capable? How do we become more financially independent? We have to create a new culture. And in order to do that, we need to pluck the best things about the culture or the cultural practices of other groups of people who we interact with. You see, we spend a lot of time complaining about things, right? And not enough time doing things. Okay? Like, for instance, a prime example, Tariq Nasheed, right? Tariq Nasheed was on a radio show. I think he was being interviewed by I forgot his name, but very famous black influencer, way more famous than him. And the fact that I'm forgetting his name is, to me, is disrespectful, because I know it's fake. I'm bad with names, guys, so that's what it is. But either way, the dude, I know he's a famous artist. If you say his name, everybody gonna know who he is. Either way, the panel was they had very important and capable individuals on it. And there was a lady who, I think her job, she works on different campaigns, right? So Tariq Nasheed was complaining about, he was talking about having some march, right? Went from a march to a rally, because there's not enough FBA cult members to actually have a march, because ain't nobody gonna show up, right? African Americans don't know what FBA is. So he turned it into a rally, which is probably going to turn into a meet and greet in some hall that he rented for $400. Probably had some finger foods and shit, some dry sandwiches with a toothpick in it, and some carrots and celery and some ranch dip, a couple of those, and some 2-liter sodas from the 3-liter sodas from the dollar store, all right, and some paper cups from Party City. That's probably what's going to end up happening at his event. But so while he's talking to his event, while he's trying to troll, gaslight, and do all sorts of shit to make himself sound relevant, he said he's going to have a event where he's going to go down there and complain about how African Americans are being treated and how we don't have opportunities like everybody else and all other immigrants or whatever, right? And when the lady asks, when not just the lady, but the host of the show was like, so what congressman are you going to talk to, to see if they'll be interested in campaigning on maybe some of your interests. Maybe they want to push for something that your people want so they can earn the votes of your members, basically. And he didn't want to do that. That's real. That would take real action, real accountability. He just want to go and complain. So he wants to go complain in the air, in the ether, and hope that these busy politicians are going to pay attention to him. And his priority is not the priority of African Americans. The FBA's priority is not the priority of African Americans. African Americans are worried about the stability of the country. We're worried about housing. We're worried about jobs. We're worried about, food, gas price. We're worried about what everybody else in the civilized world is worried about. How does, taking care of our family. We're not really too much worried about reparations, right? Even though it's something we know we're owed, but, that's a fantasy for another day as far as most African Americans are concerned, because we live in reality. We've always lived in reality for the most part. But to get back to the main point, Tariq Nasheed doesn't want to do anything. He just wants to complain, right? And instead of taking action, he'd rather say, look at the immigrant, specifically the black immigrant, which is the weirdest thing. And he sounded weird when he said it, and I feel like he's forcing it, and it doesn't sound right coming out of his mouth. It doesn't sound right. It's not something African Americans are going to galvanize around, because it's very cringy. And I think this grift that he has jumped on, I think he is about to hit a wall, because now he's starting to look like a joke. He's definitely starting to look like a joke, and no serious African American who wants to benefit their people are going to take him or his people seriously, or anybody who actually listens to him going to take them seriously, right? So when I say It's time to take examples, meaning we need to observe the things that foreigners do when they come here, that they do that makes them successful, you know, compared to what we do. And the reason why they do things differently, because they're coming with a different life perspective, a different mindset, you know, a different world. You see, outside of America, right? One thing we take advantage of in America is we do have a very decent social net system. Our network, our systems that we have. America is a very great place. It's a great place to live. Let's keep it real. Our system, we have a great system. It's the people in the system that we have problems with. Just like you may have a great job, but the people at your job make your job suck, right? And there's people at your job you like that make your job enjoyable and make you want to go there, right? And in businesses too, vice versa. So what we have to do is we have to find, what are these immigrants doing? What are they taking advantage of that we're not taking advantage of? What are they seeing that we're not seeing? You see, most countries outside of Africa, outside of America, they don't have the same social network safety systems as us. So if you are an individual, if you don't hustle and make money, you'll starve and die. There's no social security service go down there. There's no, let me go get this EBT card. There's no food stamps. There's none of that. A lot of countries don't have that. If you don't have money, you won't eat. Period. If you don't dig the ground, make a brick, build a house, you won't have a place to live. Most places is like that around the world. Not like here. Everybody don't have financing and things like those opportunities. So foreigners, they see the environment in America and they say, you know, that environment gives me the opportunity to pursue my dreams or to pursue a different living, right? So having your own business is a way of life for foreigners in their own countries. Having their own business is just normal. Having a job is not normal. Job is, you have to have a stable economy to produce, to have enough billionaires and millionaires to produce things, to provide services, to create jobs for people to work. All right, that's a luxury of business, you know, employment, right? Luxury. I say that word loosely. So they come over here not with the intentions of working, because that's a foreign, a lot to them, that's a foreign way of making money to them. You know, it's not the most stable way of making money. Having your own business, controlling how you have money, controlling the money, the income that comes into your foundation, your house, your unit, right? So they come and they start businesses, right? What programs do they have? There are no special programs. Listen, there are no special programs for foreigners. They just take advantage of the American system, right? That they see from the outside. You see, if you're on the outside of something, you can see everything. And you see, from the outside, they can see America and all its opportunities. If you're inside, you can't see everything, right? Like, for instance, the planet. We live on the planet. We live inside the planet. If it wasn't for technology, you would not know what this planet looks like. You would not have the total picture, the vastness of this planet, because you live on the inside, right? It's not your fault. You just live on the inside. If you were to go to space and turn around and look at the globe, then you would see the planet in its full totality. You have a bigger picture of what it is, this place you live in, this environment that you're in, the opportunities that you have in the location, geolocation that you reside in, right? You would have all of that. You have more knowledge to make more moves. You're like, you know what? It'd be better to live over there than over here because they have more fresh water. It'd be better to live over here. They got more greenery. It'd be better. Let's stay away from that place. That's a desert. That place is not developed. You know, you understand? To make it simple for you guys. Okay? And so as a foreigner, they can see that. Just like in Africa, the perspective that we have, right? On the outside looking in, we can see all the opportunities in Africa because we can see the whole thing from the outside. If you're in Africa, on the continent, in your various countries, you may not see all the opportunities around you because you're living there, you're within the environment. You understand? So that's why when you see people say, well, how come they don't fix their own countries, but they come over here and do this and do that? It's because from your vantage point is what you can see, right? Just like from my vantage point is what I can see, what I can leverage with my opportunity. You see, I've already benefit from America and its systems, right? I've taken advantage of it. So now I can leverage that in Africa and take advantage of the other forms of opportunity that's over there, right? As a foreigner. So what? I know that's my motherland. I know that's my homeland. I know that's where my ancestors from. But guess what? I'm still a foreigner, and I'm operating as such, right? With business, right? I don't go there to get a job. I would never go to Africa to get a job, to take a job away from a continental African that needs that job. Why would I do that? That would be me hurting people in the economy, not adding to the people in the economy. When you enter an environment, it's about what you can do to improve the people around you, and what benefits can you bring? What is your worth? That's your value. What do you bring to the community, right? So, okay. So let's talk about foreigners and how they come to America and they do things. Now, let's talk about the Korean, okay? The Koreans are brave enough. So we need bravery. That's one thing we need to have. Bravery. Koreans, it's mainly Koreans. They are brave enough to go into African American communities. Keep in mind, when they came into the communities, they didn't come into our communities violent, vicious. Let me go there to marry with a bunch of niggas. Let me go ahead. They didn't do that. No, they came in. They say, there's a place where there's a restaurant. This person is willing to sell me this restaurant, in this neighborhood, and I believe I can make money because I believe that these people will buy the food that I can prepare, right? So that African American food are, that African Americans like Asian food, right? So if I'm an Asian person and I know how to make Asian food, I'm gonna put my restaurant in the heart of where African Americans live because I know they'll come and buy my food. I'm gonna start my restaurant and they will come and patronize me. Now, are they afraid to come into our neighborhoods? No. Keep in mind, we're supposed to be this vicious, scary black people. We'll kill you, we'll do this and we'll do that. But they're not afraid to set up camp in our neighborhoods, right? And provide us with services to their food. Now, whether their food is healthy and good for us, that's a whole nother story, all right? But let's not act like they're special because white people set up restaurants. We know that food ain't good for us. The food we buy at the grocery store probably ain't good for us. Like most of the stuff we buy ain't good for us because corporations, they use lots of preservatives and steroids to stretch the food that they produce so they can sell it longer so that they can make more money. That's why we have every other person has cancer and diabetes, right? It's just the environment that these rich people have created. But so if the Korean, they come, let's say they know, okay, so we know black people like Chinese food. We know, they also set up in white neighborhoods. They set up in Latino neighborhoods. Any place where they know that they set up, people are going to buy, they're going to sell, right? So they bought the restaurants from our old grandparents. They used to own soul food restaurants or used to own various restaurants. They offered them money, they sold it, and then they kept the business running, right? So, and then the thing is, these guys, they don't make as much money as we think. These people are not rich. This is just how they know how to survive. You go to your local Jenny's Chinese restaurant, they're not living in the Hamptons, all right? They live not too far from you. They may live in, a nicer neighborhood than you, but they struggling. They got to work every day for their money just like you, right? They basically bought their own job. They work every day, all day, 7 days a week. They earn that money, right? So, but they do it. And there's no special programs. And they're not afraid of us. So why should black people be afraid? We know. Here's the thing. If an Asian person can come in our community and set up a Chinese joint, sell inferior Asian food, because it's not even good Asian food. It's fake, made up Asian food. And make a living. And we know in the food industry that African Americans are some of the best cooks. We make, in our genre of food, is top 5 in the world, period, of desirable foods for people to eat. And we know how to make that. We can also go into in neighborhoods, like white neighborhoods, who love African American foods, and set up a restaurant, and they will come and they will buy the food. We can do the same thing. We also can go into the heart of a Latino neighborhood, set up a soul food restaurant, sell authentic African American food, provide great customer service, and we will sell every single day. We just have to not be afraid. You can also, as an African American, go to any African country that knows about African Americans and set up a soul food restaurant. You can make it a fancy soul food restaurant. You can make it a quick eatery soul food restaurant. You can go every level of restaurant at the restaurant, but you can do any level. You can go over there and you will be successful because the product that you're producing is desirable, right? People want it, right? And that will be you selling yourself, selling your culture, selling your essence for money, right? You know, for a group of African Americans, for a group of people who know that we are the shit, who know that we're influential all the way around the world, why are we not leveraging our influence for our own benefit? Europeans are. They leverage our music for their benefit. They leverage our acting ability for their benefit. They leverage our intellect for their companies and for their technologies. You see all the things we invented. Clearly, we have the capability of doing these things. We just need to control it ourselves. Why can't we do it? We have to have some bravery. Be brave, be bold, be the explorers that we used to be. Africans are explorers. We explore this world. We go everywhere. African Americans, we done got so comfortable and stagnant in America because we figured we done made it to our final destination. There's no other environment in the world that can possibly be better than America. And since we built America, we're just gonna stay here and enjoy this and deal with all the troubles and issues that we have, and just like that. And don't say racism. We don't care about racism, because if we cared about racism, we wouldn't go into these Chinese restaurants when they disrespect us. We wouldn't go to these Chinese beauty supply stores when they disrespect us. So if we really, really cared about racism, we wouldn't patronize places that are racist towards us. Keep that in mind. So do we really care about racism, or do we just like to fan the fuel of racism to conveniently maintain our laziness and our position of being a victim, even though we're doing very well in society for the most part? But as long as we keep saying it's them, they, and it's racism, we don't have to do anything because we're a victim. The victim can just sit there and wait for her hero to come and undo it, or wait for the victimizer to stop being the victimizer, right? We'll just wait. Hurry up and wait, right? No, we need to get out there and get it. Do you see the Samoans? You see how much pride they have in their culture, even though they've been devastated by the European? We need to have that same pride, all right? We need to have that same pride and motivation to do things, okay? Because we can do it. So if we have the same pride and motivation as the Polynesians and Samoans, you know how they do their hockey dance and all that stuff. When you see them do it, they're proud. They're not ashamed of who they are and what they're about. They're proud of their culture. And I bet you if one of them were to come over here and set up a poke bowl restaurant, guess what? We would go to the restaurant and we'll patronize it and they'll make money, right? So we, as African Americans, we can go to any country. Listen, Linda. African Americans can go to any country and open up a soul food restaurant and make millions of dollars. That food is desirable. They can only, listen, these foreigners do you know they come to America? Some foreigners literally come to America and go to the African American spots just to get authentic African American soul food. Why do we not leverage our own food around the world? Why is the white man Colonel Sanders still the picture of fried chicken, of commercialized soul food? Why? It makes no sense. We can totally dominate that market. And that's just one example of a market we can dominate if we just pay attention and take lessons from the foreigner. That's it. We need to take lessons from the immigrant, from the foreigner. Add that to our culture. Change our culture to something we want. Culture always changes. We like to harp on culture as it's something that stays the same, like African culture. We want to connect to a culture that's 5,000-6,000 years old and still do the same thing they did back then. No. Culture changes. We'll have elements of that, but it won't be the same thing. It'll be the essence of us. So, it's up to us, guys. I mean, what y'all want to do? Take examples from the foreigner. Let's do what the foreigners do. We can be foreigners in any country and do what they do. Be just as successful as them. And, and thrive in this world. Monopoly, guys. The game is Monopoly. We're playing Monopoly. That's what life is about, Monopoly. We could open up a school, right? Buy 100 Monopoly boards and that's what we play all day. We'll probably learn more playing Monopoly than traditional traditional American education. Just saying. But guys, what do you think about what I said? Huh? Do you think I'm right? Do you think that we need to take lessons from the foreigner? I know I'm right, actually. It's not even a thinking thing. But tell me what you think about what I said, okay? That's all I got to say for now, guys. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. You're listening to DJ Afro Think Tank. Thanks for watching. Like, share, comment, and subscribe.